Matt Bernier Show here on DRFTV, live.drf.com, livestream.com, the Daily Racing Forum's Twitter handle. That would be at DRF Inside Post, as well as the Daily Racing Forum's Facebook page. My name is Matt Bernier. You can follow me on Twitter at Bernier_Matt. This is the recap edition of the Matt Bernier Show, taking a look back at the weekend of February the 10th. You had 3-year-old preps, you had grade 1 races, you had turf, you had dirt, you had all kinds of good stuff mixed in there. Fillies, mares, boys, doesn't matter, whatever they are. They went out there and they threw it down. If you listen to this thing in podcast, you've got YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, video.drf.com. This time of year, we start off with what we always start off with, the 3-year-olds. They take center stage each and every weekend because we're getting closer and closer. Everybody's building up that Derby fever. Let's start off with the big one down at Tampa Bay Downs. This was the field for the Sam F. Davis, going 1 mile and 1/16 on the main track. It was initially supposed to be a field of 7. Scratch the number 7, Vouch. That left a field of 6, and Catholic Boy coming off of the layoff. We hadn't seen him since the Remsen last year at Aqueduct. He went up as your 3-5 favorite, but did he get the job done? Richard Grunder with the call.
Boy on the outside, he strikes to the lead. Flame Away is battling back gamely down along the inner rail. These two are locked in battle. Flame Away is coming back, trying to pull the upset. Catholic Boy is all out. These two matching strides. Vino Rosso defeated down to the wire. Flame Away, Catholic Boy on the outside. Flame Away and Jose Lascano, upset winner of the Sam Davis.
Flame Away, gutsy gate-to-wire score, wins the Sam F. Davis, pays $22.60 on top. The number 6 Catholic Boy, the 3-5 favorite, is defeated, runs second, $2.60 to place. And the number 3 Vino Rosso for Pletcher, Rapoli, Velasquez, pays $2.80 to show. The $2 exact comes back $51.40. The $1 try comes back $68.50. The $1 superfecta $2.635, $157.90. Flame Away is 5 of 7 lifetime. He's an Ontario bred, owned by John Oxley, trained by Mark Cassidy, bred by Phoenix Rising Farms in Ontario. Ridden to victory by Jose Lascano. He's over $434,000 in career earnings. And you see the pedigree at the bottom of the page. He is by Scat Daddy out of a Fusaichi Pegasus mare named Vulcan Rose. Flame Away has really done very little wrong in his 7-race career, at this point anyway. The Breeders' Cup they ran in was just tremendous. That all things considered, it was a big effort. The only real blemish on his page is that head scratcher that he ran at Churchill Downs on the dirt, on the main track. He comes back here. They give him the opportunity to go out there and strut his stuff and prove that he belongs in the dirt, and he does just that. He earns a 92 Beyer speed figure, winning this race, a 118 time form US rating. Comes home in 31 flat, almost 31-1. Mark Cassidy talked about this horse. He is likely to return for the Tampa Bay Derby. That is on March the 10th. He is not yet Triple Crown nominated, but Cassie said, we'll fix that, as you would assume they would, a late nomination fee, so you won't pay the $600, pay a little bit more, whatever that may end up being. Flame Away, this was a good effort for this horse. I like the fact that he has shown that speed is an asset that he obtains or that he possesses, and more importantly, he doesn't want to lose. When somebody comes at him, he digs in. He did the same thing in that turf race down at Gulfstream Park. He did the same thing in the Breeders' Cup. He's done the same thing a number of times. It's a really nice horse. I still don't know what his best surface is. I think at the end of the day he's going to be a turf horse, but right now, who am I to sit here and say that he belongs on the turf? You just won a graded stakes race on dirt against arguably one of the top 4 or 5 3-year-olds in your generation. Go on with it. I have no complaints whatsoever. It'll be interesting to see what happens when he comes back at the mile and 16th in the Tampa Bay Derby, if, knock on wood, everything goes as planned. Catholic Boy earned a 91 Beyer, and I can understand anyone that's disappointed with this effort. Frankly, I was a little bit disappointed. Turning for home, it looks like he's going to win for fun, put on a show, and he never goes by. And I think the fact that Flame Away ultimately was putting a little bit of distance between he and Catholic Boy as they got down toward the wire, I think, to me anyway, that indicated that Catholic Boy may be a little bit short, and he was a little bit tired, needed this race. Keep in mind, Manny Franco kept him just parked out in the clear throughout, which you're supposed to do on a horse that is odds on, that a horse is supposed to get the job done. Then he got a little bit short at the end. You hear what Jonathan Thomas says afterward. His trainer, 91 Beyer, he replicated that. He earned that in the Grade 2 Remsen last December. In retrospect, he might have been a little bit light on him from a training standpoint. They'll give it one more prep, and if he's good enough, he'll earn his way into run in the Kentucky Derby. I think all things considered, this was a good effort from him. The horse I am most interested in is Vino Rosso. I think Vino Rosso, coming into this race, I thought he was one that probably needed to iron some things out from a maturity standpoint. Didn't look like he was ready to truly go on, but who might have doubt Pletcher? I think there's a scenario where he could have gotten the job done on Saturday. He didn't, but I loved everything that I saw. Seemed like he idled a little bit on the turns, ran well on the straightaway when Johnny V really got into him, and he had to be hard-ridden for better part of 3/8 of a mile. I thought the way that he finished was tremendous. His gallop out was really, really strong. I said going into it, he reminded me of Tappert last year. I say coming out of it even more so. I think he's Tappert. I think he could easily go on and win the Tampa Bay Derby, and I think he could go on to be a serious, serious 3-year-old. Don't write off Vino Rosso just yet, just because he runs third here behind 2 nice horses. I think Vino Rosso could be one that we hear some things from here going forward. But hey, credit where credit is due. Mark Cassidy and company, they get the job done with Flame Away. Flame Away wins the Sam F. Davis. Sounds like it is on to the Tampa Bay Derby. Flame Away earns a 92 buyer in the Sam F. Davis. Go from 3-year-olds going 2 turns in Florida, the 3-year-olds going 1 turn in Southern California. This was the field for the San Vicente at Santa Anita Park on Saturday afternoon. You had a field of 6. All eyes were on the number 1 Axeman for Bob Baffert, the 97 buyer he earned in his career debut. Really kind of buried this field, and if you thought there was going to be even just a replica of the 97, he was going to be a handful to beat. The problem was Mr. Jägermeister's presence just to his outside kind of ensured that there was going to be a hot and heavy pace, and sure enough there was. Michael Rona with the call.
Here's Kantaka starting to come home dangerously. 4 deep and really powering after them down the outside at the 3/16 pole. And Kantaka sweeps clear. Nero gets to second. Axeman and Mr. Jägermeister dealed themselves into submission. 16th to go, and Kantaka blasting away with the San Vicente. Kantaka takes it by 3 lengths to Nero, and they are a dozen clear of the 3rd-placed all-out blitz.
Kantaka visually awesome, winning the San Vicente at Santa Anita, $24.20 on top. The number 3 Nero for Bob Baffert, $7.80 to place. And the number 4 all-out blitz, $5 to show. The $1 exacta 5-3 comes back $94.50. The 50-cent trifecta 5-3-4 comes back $192.90, and the $1 superfecta comes back $744.70. Kantaka is 2 of 3 lifetime, has earned $153,000. It's owned by the West Point Thoroughbreds, trained by Jerry Hollendorfer, bred by Spendthrift Farm LLC out of Kentucky. Ridden to victory by Flavian Pratt, and you take a look at the pedigree. Jimmy Creed out of a Noonmark mare named Sliced Bread. I like that. That's funny. This is a really interesting horse going forward, Kantaka, because I understand anyone that wants to look at him and say, you got to go on with him. You got to stretch him out and see what you've got here. You earned a 99 buyer speed figure. Makes you one of the fastest 3-year-olds that you've got going in training right now. Not so fast. There's a part of me that wonders, and even listening to some of the post-race quotes from Jerry Hollendorfer, I wonder if you keep him at 1 turn and you just say, we might have the best 1-turn horse in the country as far as 3-year-olds are concerned. Flavian Pratt said he gave me a great ride. He did everything right. Hollendorfer after the race said they went 22-44, so we thought he'd have a chance to close them down, especially the way that he broke his maiden. As far as the next race, we'll monitor things and see how it goes. I kind of feel like when you take a look at the fractions of this race, like Hollendorfer had said, they went 22 and 44 and 1. Timeform US has the 1st and 2nd fractions, both color-coded red, no surprise there. He had a beautiful setup in this race. Let's call a spade a spade. The pace melted down, and he came on with the big late kick. I don't know. I just kind of get the vibe watching this horse, and you see Jimmy Creed. Makes me wonder if ultimately 1 turn is going to be his bread and butter. You deserve to take a shot with him to try to stretch him out and find out if he can go 2 turns. But there's just a serious part of me that in the back of my head thinks 1 turn is going to be what he wants to do. And you know what? That's not a bad thing. I thought this was a very, very good effort. This is a promising horse, Kantaka, but there's also a couple other promising runners in here. Nero for Bob Baffert. The big story with him leading into this was he was a head case. He didn't have a nut in his head. Well, it seems like he's kind of put it all together. He was up there pushing those hot fractions throughout. And okay, he was beaten by over 3 lengths by Kantaka, but there was a country mile between him and the 3rd place finisher, All Out Blitz. And All Out Blitz had 0 excuse. To me, he ran far and away the worst race in this entire field because he was in the catbird seat watching this entire duel play itself out in front of him. And he came with no sort of effort here. I think Nero ran a giant race, and he's going to be the one going forward that maybe you want to watch for the Baffert barn, stretching out to 2 turns. As far as Axeman is concerned, I'm basically going to draw a line through this as Drayden Van Dyke basically said. He goes, my horse got tired, but he never got a breather. I would completely throw this race out. His intro to the quote was, I was completely screwed by the 2. I would tend to agree with that, Drayden. Bob Baffert said on Sunday, he goes, he regretted not giving Drayden Van Dyke more flexibility. I should have told him he could call an audible. We probably should have let that horse go. Mr. Jägermeister, you knew his game was going to be speed to try to wire this field. Seemed very, very unlikely with Axeman drawn to the inside. That was my only concern with Axeman leading into this race was from a dynamic standpoint, I don't think it's going to set up. The problem was I picked the wrong horse. I liked All Out Blitz, and he was terrible in here. Kentaka, really strong effort. 99 buyer, 116 time form U.S. rating. Don't write off Nero, though. Nero earned a 93 buyer and a 118 time form U.S. rating. The San Vicente we've seen in the past, it can prove to be an important Kentucky Derby prep. Maybe this year is no different. We turn over to the champions. One of two champions that was running on Saturday afternoon was Unique Bella. She was the headliner at Santa Anita on Saturday. She ran in the fourth race. That was the Santa Maria. You had a field, a relatively short field. Only 5 of them decided to go here in a mile and 16th. Nobody's eager to take on the female sprint champion, Unique Bella. Now she stretches out to 2 turns. Everyone has long thought that possibly 2 turns would be even better for her. And if that was the case, things are going to get scary. Guess what? They got scary in a hurry. Michael Rono the call.
Unique Bella by 4 lengths to Majestic Heat, a length and a half to Mopatism, and they're clear of Shenandoah Queen. Coming past the 8th pole, and he doesn't need to even think about the whip on Unique Bella, who leads by 6 lengths. Majestic Heat and Mopatism are battling home fairly, but the only view they've had is of the Grey Filly's capacious posterior. Unique Bella, 1,200 pounds of horsepower, and she dominated the Santa Maria.
Cruise Control for Unique Bella winning the Santa Maria pays $2.20 on top. Mopatism runs second, $2.80 to place, and Majestic Heat third, $2.10 to show. The $1 exacta, $2.60, 50-cent try, $2.15. Unique Bella is now 4 years old, and she is 7 of 9 lifetime, 8 times in the exacta. The only time that she has been out was the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, where she went gangbusters early on and paid the price late. She's over $712,000 in career earnings. She is owned by Don Alberto Stable, trained by Jerry Hollendorfer, bred by Brushwood Stable in Pennsylvania, ridden to victory by Mike Smith, and you see the pedigree at the bottom. It's a big one at that, by Tappet out of the Unbridled Song Mare Unrivaled Bell. I want to read the entirety of Mike Smith's quote immediately after the Santa Maria, simply because Smith's not usually one that's just going to sit there and wax poetic. He's going to be positive about it, but he's also going to call a spade from time to time. This was his quote after the race. I really don't think we've seen how good she can be. I've surely seen how easily she's doing things right now, which I think is extremely impressive. I truly believe we haven't gotten to the bottom of it. There could be even more to her. I'm excited to see what the future holds for her. I really am. There are some different things we can do with her, too, because of her size. She probably can step up to the boys at some point. Who knows, because she's not just a one-gutted kind of filly. She's got a lot to her. She's built more like a colt, end quote. Mike Smith saying, just throwing out the fact that boys, even in the consideration, because remember, when she was a 3-year-old, she was the favorite for the Kentucky Oaks before she ended up getting sick or having the shins or whatever the situation was. But everybody was chomping at the bit saying, these 3-year-old boys, they can't figure themselves out. Why not run the girl against the boys? And Hollendorfer, heck, for the past 2 years, he's had to do it, the past 2 of the past 3, whatever you want to say, with Songbird saying, you know what, pump the brakes. Why do we need to go and face the boys? It seems like now everyone is kind of open to the idea, you know, maybe this girl is just that good because she's built more like a boy, she's more robust. Maybe she can handle taking on males at this point. By the way, Cheryl, all she did was earn a 109 buyer speed figure and a time form U.S. rating of 133. Giant numbers. You see the fractions. I mean, she went every step of the way, but she was in first gear for the entirety of it. Speaking of Jerry Hollendorfer, he said we thought that she would be on the lead. I really think she got a hold of the track today. I would agree with you there, King Jerry. His full quote as far as her next possible situation, and again, something that just kind of stuck in the back of my mind. I think we'll look at the next race here, which would be the Santa Margarita at a mile and an 8. That's a grade 1, and try for that. And then who knows what will happen after that. We'll look at the Santa Margarita for sure. There are other races around the same time. We'd look at the Apple Blossom at Oaklawn Park, but I'd like to stay home if we can. I'm not suggesting this is going to happen, but it seems like they're open to the idea of at some point taking on males. And if you think that she goes through and just breezes in the Santa Margarita, if that is the spot that they choose to go in, you don't have to go too much farther down the line. If you want to keep her at home, you have a 1.25 mile race in your backyard. You have the Gold Cup. That's going to be over the summer in late May, early June. I don't know. That's just me speculating, but it sounds like all parties are involved here saying, yeah, we think she can take on the boys at some point. Based on what she did there, the 109 buyer, and considering there's no gun runner, and now you've got West Coast, but it sounds like he's going to go over to Dubai. Boy, that after that horse, who else are you really afraid of as far as the older males are concerned? If she can go out there and relax as kindly as she did, but still have that legitimate, I think it's the most overused term in racing, but it's true here in this instance, that cruising speeds, when she can go out there and she can get a half mile in 46 and 4, and she's not out of first gear, Who am I to sit here and say that she can't take on the boys? The 109 buyer, that stacks up very favorably. The 133 time form U.S. rating, she enters that rarefied air. You saw that Smith never asked her to run. She came home in 32-2. Mopetism and Majestic Heat came home in 33-1 and 33-3. I mean, she's just in a different level right now. I questioned ultimately going into the race. I said, you know what, 1 to 10, I don't need her. Prove to me that you can go out there and 2 turns is actually as good as everyone thinks it's going to be. I may have been one of the few in the minority that said, I don't know if she's able to do it and relax. Guess what? She relaxed, and she went on put on a show. 109 buyer for Unique Bella winning the Santa Maria. The other champion on the racetrack Saturday afternoon was World Approval. He was the Breeders' Cup Mile winner, and he was the Older Turf winner. As far as the Eclipse Award was concerned last year, he made his return to the races down at Tampa Bay Downs and the Tampa Bay Stakes. This was meant to be a prep possibly for a run over in Dubai. He was going to be bet off the board here, and he was. He was 1 to 5, and World Approval did what he was supposed to do at a mile and 16th. Here is the stretch run.
As they turn into the stretch, World Approval on the outside now strikes to the lead. Here's Forge being set down for the drive on the outside, gaining with every stride. Inside the final furlong, World Approval has the lead. Forge on the outside trying to pull the upset. World Approval will maintain the champion that he is to take it by a diminishing neck.
Maybe it wasn't the best World Approval we've ever seen, but it's certainly classy enough to get the job done. He wins the Tampa Bay Stakes pace, $2.40 on top. Forge gutsy effort to run second, $5 to place, and Fire Away runs third, $2.60 to show. The $2 exact, the 7.6 comes back $11.20. $1 trifecta comes back $17.20, and the $1 superfecta 7.639 comes back $80.50. World Approval is 6 years old. This is a nice kickoff to his 2018 campaign. You see he is 12 of 25 lifetime. He has over $3 million in career earnings. He is owned by Live Oak Plantation. He was bred by Live Oak Stud in Florida. He is trained by Mark Cassie, ridden to victory by John Velasquez in the pedigree at the bottom of the page by Northern Fleet out of a With Approval mare named Win Approval. This is a horse, World Approval, that again, it sounded like all plans were to go over to Dubai, use this as a springboard. But I think there were some reservations leading into the race just about ultimately how far he wants to go, because he's really been making his hay since being cut back to the proper 8-furlong flat mile. Mark Cassie has said after the race, he goes, you know, he's been better than he was today, but hopefully this will be a nice foundation for him for this year. And then on Sunday, the Dubai race is almost 9 furlongs, which stretches us. Ultimately, they are not going to go to Dubai. He's a champion, and we're going to take care of him. That was a quote from Cassie. Cassie also added that the Grade 1 Makers 46 Mile on April the 7th at Keeneland becomes the new target, with a potential stopgap on March the 10th out at Santa Anita in the Kilroe Mile between the two. So no Dubai for World Approval, and I have to be honest, I think that's the right call. Mark Cassie knows much better than I do, but I think this is what he wants to do. He's a flat miler, stretching him out to 9 furlongs against the best horses in the world. You're probably setting yourself up for a little bit of a disappointing trip over to the Middle East. Now, you keep him here, you keep him at the flat mile, you run him at Keeneland. If you want to run him at Santa Anita, you can do that as well. He's a good horse. This mile and 16th, Johnny V even said as much. I think when we passed the mile, it was getting a little bit long for him with the layoff, and the extra 16th hit it right in the head a little bit. So you get him back to the mile, I think he's going to be good to go. For what it's worth, Timeform US had the half-mile split color-coded red. Good effort from Forge. I also want to make note, the 2 horses that were involved, there was a spill on the far turn. You may have seen the loose horses running around. The 2 horses, they were both unhurt, and both of the riders, all things considered, they are in good shape. They're good to go. It appears that all parties, horse and rider and human, appear to avoid any sort of serious injuries, which is always good news. World Approval, though, gets the job done. 103 buyer back, coming in his first start since the Breeders' Cup Mile. Forge also earns a 103 buyer. From a Timeform standpoint, World Approval, a 127 Timeform US rating. If they choose to go to the Kilroe Mile, he's going to be a heavy favorite, or if they wait for the Makers 46, he's going to be a heavy favorite either way. This is a champion, World Approval. Enjoy him while we've got him, because he's a nice horse. And good news is he's a gelding, so hopefully we can see him for another year or two. We have seen these geldings do very, very well in the middle distances in the past. Immediately the first one that comes to mind is Wise Dan. But here, World Approval gets the job done in the Tampa Bay. 5th race that we're going over, and we're finally getting to the Grade 1, the lone Grade 1 of the weekend for this past weekend. That was the Grade 1 Gulfstream Park Turf. Let's take a look at that field. This was at 1 mile and an 1/8. The question was, heart to heart, he looked like he was controlling speed. Could he successfully navigate 9 furlongs against better company? The answer was yes. He finally gets that Grade 1 Pete Aiello with the call.
As they run to the top of the stretch, it's Heart to Heart and Julien Leparoux off the turn with the lead. Into the clear, here's Kurlov to try to track him down second. Down the outside and High Happy from between horses. That's a one go, all go. Less than an eighth of a mile to go, and Heart to Heart's digging in. Kurlov surging at him one more time. Heart to Heart, Kurlov late. Here's the finish. Heart to Heart is all heart and gets the grade 1 score.
Heart to Heart gets the monkey off his back, finally gets that grade 1, the elusive grade 1. He wins the Gulfstream Park Turf. $7.20 to win. Kurlov runs second, $6 to place. High Happy runs third, $5 to show. The $2 exacta comes back $38.20. The $1 try comes back $99.10. And the 10-cent superfecta comes back $44.21. Heart to Heart is 7 years old at this point in his career. He's owned by Terry Hamilton. He's trained by Brian Lynch. Bred in Ontario by Red Hawk Ranch. Ridden to victory by Julien Leparoux, one of the best judges of pace in the entire world, let alone the country. And you see the pedigree. He's by English Channel out of a Silvery Deputy Mare. He is 14 of 34 lifetime, and he's over $1.7 million in career earnings. His Heart to Heart. Heart to Heart earns a 102 Beyer speed figure winning this race, the Gulfstream Park Turf, a 127 time form U.S. rating. The interesting thing here is it sounds like he may not be done with these sort of middle distance races, and I don't mean the miles, I mean the longer distances. You hear Brian Lynch after the race. First things first, he said the elusive grade 1 in exclamation. He's an absolutely deserved horse to have a 1 next to his name. Lynch continued on and said, I'll nominate him to the Maker's Mark. If there's not a lot of speed in the race, he'll run there. If not, they'll wait for the Woodford Reserve at Churchill Downs on Kentucky Derby Day. And Lynch went on to say, I'll probably look to run him in longer races when I can this year because it gives him more of a chance to get a breather on the lead. That's an interesting way to look at it, and you know what? Based on this effort here, I'm not going to argue with it. I do wonder if he's still best just going breakneck at a mile. Give me 46 and change. But I understand sometimes you're going to get a situation like the Breeders' Cup Mile, which presents itself where they just go entirely too fast and no one that's forward has any opportunity. When you get these longer distances and you let them get that kind of nice rhythm going, you let them set some moderate to reasonable fractions for a horse the caliber and the talent of Heart to Heart. Maybe he can get 9, maybe he can even get a little bit further. I'm still dubious. I think that this was a perfect storm. This was not a terrific field behind him, not the strongest grade 1 you're ever going to see. I think this is about as good as you're going to get at 9 furlongs. I still think he can be a crack miler where you just let him go. Open up the throttle from the minute the gates break and go on with it. The rest of the field ran fine. Kurlov, High Happy, one go, all go. I have no beefs there. The horse that I want out of this race is Channel Maker. Channel Maker, for some reason, I have no problem with him being taken back to last. I have no problem saving ground and waiting. I do have a problem when you turn for home. You have saved ground throughout the entire race. Fine, go 6-7 paths wide. Go wide, but make sure that you continue on with it and you don't get stopped. Unfortunately, Nick Juarez kept him in. He didn't really make a decision. He was in behind horses. He finally bowled his way out, got out into a path, came on with a run, finished in 11-2, and he was only beaten, a little more than a length and change for all the money. To me, Channel Maker is the horse that you want coming out of this race, if not Heart to Heart, because I think with a little bit more pace up front, with a little bit of a cleaner trip, I think Channel Maker can threaten. Maybe he can't win this race, but he certainly can crack the top 3. And going forward, if you stretch him out to 1.25 miles, you run him at 1 3/8 miles, you run him heck even here at 1 1/8 miles with some pace, I think Channel Maker is the horse that I want coming out of this race. But hats off to the wily old vet, 7 years old, Heart to Heart, finally gets the grade 1 victory that he's so long deserved here in the Gulfstream Park Turf. We go from older horses going 1 1/8 miles on the turf at Gulfstream to older fillies and mares going 1 1/16 miles on the turf at Tampa Bay Downs. This was the field for the Endeavour. You had 2 horses that took the lion's share of the money. The number 2, Donna Bruja, as well as the number 7, La Coronel, and you mix in some bigger prices in there. Those 2 seemed like they were going to take a world of beating in here if they showed up with their A race. They both showed up with, let's say, above average efforts, but one of them with an exceptional effort. Here's the stretch run of the Endeavour.
16ths of a mile to run. Donna Bruja held together beautifully. Boy Ortiz cuts the corner and now bumps the margin to 5. La Cornell running at the leader. Second toward the rail. Lovely Laurie coming up with a huge effort. But down to the wire, it's Donna Bruja. Well handled throughout by Eclipse Award winner Jose Ortiz, reporting home about 5 lengths to the good.
Donna Bruja, very, very impressive, winning the Endeavour, $4.80 on top. La Coronel runs second in her return to the races, $2.40 to place, and Truly Together runs third, $2.80 to show. The $2 exacta comes back $9. The $1 trifecta comes back $11.50, and the $1 superfecta, $2.715, comes back $25.50. Donna Bruja is 6 years old at this point in her career. She's 11 and 15 lifetime, 14 times in the exacta, over $500,000 in career earnings. She's owned by Don Felipe LLC. She's trained by Nacho Correas. You see the breeder from Argentina, Ivan Roberto Gasparado. Ridden to victory by the Eclipse champion jockey Jose Ortiz, and you see the pedigree by Storm Embrujado out of Argentina, out of a Nureyev mare named This Is Crazy, who was bred in Australia. This is a truly sort of global pedigree here for Donna Bruja. Donna Bruja earns a 101 Beyer speed figure, winning the Endeavour, a grade 3 event. She came home in 29-4. Beautiful handling on the front end by Jose Ortiz, but does not sound like that was initially the plan. Nacho Correas afterwards said, I think going to the lead from the start, that was Bruja's plan, not ours. Jose Ortiz said that wasn't really the plan. Ignacio told me to keep her relaxed and don't change her style, let La Coronel go, and hopefully somebody would go with her. But Donna Bruja broke really good. I was a bit nervous going into the first turn on the lead, but she was pulling me, I guess, because she was so fresh. I think that she is going to move forward off of this. Now, if you listen to Nacho Correas, he says that she's a very special horse. She's easy to train, does everything well. He indicated that her next run could come in the Grade 1 Coolmore Jenny Wiley. It'll be on April the 14th at Keeneland. And then over the course of the summer, give the Beverly D at Arlington Park another go. That is in August. I think this is a really, really talented mare. She's done nothing but good things ever since she's come north here to the United States. Again, the 101 Beyer, the 124 time for US rating. She really has, especially if you think all of a sudden that now she has the gear and the ability to just go right to the top and say, come and catch me, she's going to be even more difficult to deal with because she's shown in the past she's got a little bit of tactical speed, but she usually comes from a few lengths off of it. If all of a sudden now she can go out there and just wire a field, and I love the fact that as she's getting older, this is going on. This is usually a sign that as they get older, if they start breaking a little bit slow, maybe that's a sign of declining form. But on the flip side, as they get older and they show you with different gear, that can just show that they're coming to full maturity and that they're in career form. And that's, I think, what Donna Bruja is right now. I have to be honest, I don't have a problem with them putting her away. If she comes into races fresh and does her best work when she's coming off a little bit of a layoff, be prepared. That's when your grade 1s and your best opportunities are going to come. I think if she shows up in that Jenny Wiley, she's going to be a handful. La Coronel, I thought all things considered, this was a good effort for her. Mark Cassie said she may have been a little bit flat, but this is the beginning of the year. Supposed to get better from here. Keep in mind, La Coronel also loves Keeneland. She absolutely adores that turf course, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see her there. Maybe you get a race in between the two. I believe the Hillsborough is still to come here as far as the Tampa Bay meet is concerned. But all things considered, I thought the top two ran very, very well. But Donna Bruja, if all of a sudden she's got that gear where she can go out there and say, you come and catch me, I don't need to run you down, she could be an entirely different mare. She looks like she could be a major, major player as far as the older filly and mare turf runners are concerned. Donna Bruja wins the Endeavour Stakes with a 101 Beyer speed figure. From older fillies and mares on the turf at Tampa to older fillies and mares on the turf at Gulfstream, this was the field for the Suwannee River. You had a bigger field in here anyway, and it looked like it was a little bit more competitive as far as betting is concerned. Kitten's Roar, ultimately from the outside, went off as your 8-5 favorite in this spot, but she disappointed in a pretty significant way. Guess what? Turf races on the East Coast, there's a guy named Chad Brown. He's usually pretty good. Guess what? He consists your exacta here in the Suwannee River. Here's the stretch run.
Midnight Crossing has the lead over the top. Dream a While into the clear. Alicia's World with Kitten's Roar on the outside and Dream Dancing, 1/8 of a mile to go. Dream a While strides to a narrow lead. Ultra Brat coming up the inside, and on the outside Alicia's World. Dream a While's almost there. Alicia's World trying to nail her on the money. This is going to get close. Here's the line. Photo finish. If I had to guess, I'd say Alicia's World got the momentum and got up to beat Dream a While.
Alicia's World gets the job done. $9.60 on top. The number 7 Dream a While runs second, $6.60 to place, and the number 6 Ultra Brat runs third, $5.40 to show. The $2 exacta, the Chad Brown exacta, comes back $56.20, and the $1 trifecta comes back $206.60. 10-cent superfecta, $8.769, $55.92. Alicia's World is 5 years old. She's 4 of 17 lifetime. She's earned over $420,000 in career earnings. She's owned by Sheep Pond Partners and All Pro Racing LLC. She's trained by Chad Brown, and you see she's got another sort of just all-world pedigree. She's by Champs-Élysées out of a Singspiel mare named Ideal World, ridden to victory by Javier Castellano. Javier talked about this filly, this mare at this point, I should say. Said she's a little bit unlucky lately in her last couple of races, that the way that they unfolded today. She had a perfect trip. She gets the job done with a 96 Beyer speed figure and a 120 time form US rating. Interestingly enough, Dream a While, she also earns a 96 Beyer, but she actually earns a higher time form US rating with a 121. The concern I have with a horse like Dream a While, and Chad has said, you know, she's lightly raced and we think that she has a bright future and she can move forward. She didn't change the leads, and that's very uncharacteristic of a Chad Brown horse. Maybe she just needs a little bit more time, but that's not normally something that you see from a Chad Brown trainee, so that's a little bit of a concern for me. Elysia's World, look, I think I've made it very, very clear where I fall with her. I think she's a nice horse, nice mare. She can go out there, a lot of good things. Chad even said it's her last year of racing, and she's been so close, particularly last year. She ran some terrific races in graded stakes and couldn't win with tough trips and such. Her win today, it meant a lot for her value. I think she's good. I don't think she's a superstar. I don't think she's a grade 1 horse. And you know what? Chad has handled her accordingly, where he's put her in spots that she's capable of winning or capable of running, hitting the board. I'm just going to use the 2 races that were run on Saturday as the example. If you put Elysia's World in the race at Tampa Bay Downs against Donna Bruja and against La Coronel, I don't think she has a chance. This was the right spot for her. This was the right field. All sorts of things, all things considered. This was a good effort from her. Again, the 96 buyer, the 120 Timeform US rating. But I'm not going to be sitting here holding my breath thinking that all of a sudden she's a real threat for a race like the Jenny Wiley or any of those other big money races with the likes of a Donna Bruja showing up or even a La Coronel. But again, hats off. Well done. Nice job, Elysia's World. She gets the job done in the Suwannee River. Older runners at Santa Anita on the turf as well on Saturday afternoon. This was the field for the Grade 3 Thunder Road Stakes. Again, not a large field. You only had 6 signed on in here. Everybody and their brother was looking at Blackjack Cat. If he ran his Breeders' Cup Mile again, he very simply put was going to win this race. Well, guess what? Not only did he not run it, he didn't come close to running it. And you had a little bit of an upset, a little bit of a redemption story with your winner here. Here's the stretch run of the Thunder Road.
They get away from Blackjack Cat. He's floundering under the whip 4 lengths away. Joined on his inside by Tequila Joe, then Next Shares. Still past the 8th pole. Turning away Bowie's Hero. Next Shares making up a tremendous amount of ground. In front. Bowie's Hero tries once more. Next Shares still gaining, but a welcome return to the winners list as he cracks the million in earnings.
With the brilliant ride from Flavian Pratt, he gets the job done in the Thunder Road Stakes, pays $11.40 on top. The number 2 Bowie's Hero, $3.40 to place. The number 1 Next Shares stretching out in distance, $4 to show. The $1 exacta comes back $17.20. 50-cent trifecta, $23.15. And the $1 super, 6214, $203.80. Ohm is also 6 years old. Ohm also defeated American Pharaoh when he broke his maiden. Fun fact about Ohm. That's how long he's been racing. 6 of 23 lifetime, over $1 million in career earnings. He's owned by Serene Family Trust, trained by Dan Hendricks, ridden to victory by Flavian Pratt. You see the breeders, Lavin Bloodstock, Bernie Sams, and Bill Ferris Jr., bred out of Kentucky. You see the pedigree, as my friend Lee Davis would say, come with his munnings, out of a Tabasco cat mare named Rare Cat. This was, to me, an absolutely brilliant ride from Flavian Pratt. When you go through and you look at the fractions, the way that this thing was run. Now look, he put 7 on the second place runner at the half-mile point. 7 lengths, that's incredible. He went 22-2, 23 flat, 24-1. That really, to me, was the key to the race. He gave him that breather when the field came back to him. Then all of a sudden, he still had a little bit left in the tank, and he came home in 23-2. Just a brilliant ride from Flavian Pratt. Loved everything about it. He did, again, Timeform US has that final 8th color-coded as blue, so that little bit of a breather, that may have been the difference in here, considering he only prevailed by a half a length. A 99 buyer speed figure for Ohm, a 124 Timeform US rating. Bowie's Hero, a 98 buyer, a 124 Timeform US rating. Next year's 98 buyer, 124 Timeform US rating. When you listen to Flavian Pratt afterward, when he talks about Ohm, he ran an incredible race. He's incredibly fast, and I just let him work. Dan Hendricks, once the entries were taken and we had the outside post and there wasn't a dominant speed horse in there like there's been in all his races recently, we decided to just go ahead and get him on the lead like he's very comfortable doing. The Kilroe, the Grade 1 Kilroe Mile, has always been their objective since the Breeders' Cup. That's why I didn't give him the break in January like I did in previous years. So clearly it sounds like you know where this horse is going to go. And guess what? That could set up a very, very interesting scenario. If this is Ohm and he's back to form and he's really got it going again, if you get a horse like World Approval that comes in, which again, Mark Cassidy had said maybe that's the stopgap to get them to the Makers 46 Mile at Keeneland in April, That's a heck of a matchup right there by itself. And who knows, maybe you get some other horses sprinkled in there. The Kilroe is always one of my favorite races of the year. That would be a fascinating matchup if they do show up. And if anybody else comes along for the party, it sounds like that's where he's going to go. The major disappointment, no question about it, was Blackjack Cat. He was your even money beaten favorite. He finished 5th in the field of 6. Mark Glatt, very simple after the race, said he was flat. We're just going to have to regroup here and make sure everything's okay. This is the kind of race, though, performance anyway, that makes you hope that you don't ever want to hope that there's something wrong. But considering how bad he was, you almost hope that there was something wrong, because otherwise, what's the explanation? He was just dreadful. This is not the horse that we had seen last year just go into raging form at Del Mar, come back with that nice race in the obviously mile at Santa Anita, and then come back with a giant effort in the Breeders' Cup mile. That's not the horse that we saw on Saturday. So hopefully it's one of those kind of, and I hope everyone understands what I'm saying. You don't want him to be hurt. You don't want anything to be wrong. But at the same time, at least it would explain why you had such a just dull performance from Blackjack Cat. But credit where credit is due. Dan Hendricks got Ohm back to the winner's circle. A beautiful ride from Flavian Pratt. 99 Beyer speed figure, winning the Grade 3 Thunder Road. It seems like this is kind of how this program normally works, where we've only got X amount of time. We can't go forever in a day. So there are other stakes races that we do want to touch on, though. So we throw them together in a little bit of a montage, and we deliver them to you. Here's this weekend's stakes montage.
Divine Entry called on 6 lengths off the lead and 1 from the outside. They're at the top of the stretch. A different style turns for home, untroubled throughout, and widening now to lead it by 4 lengths. On the far outside, Glenwood is kicking in. Global Citizen is currently in second, but as they come past the 16th pole, it's a different style. A dominant performance in the Jimmy Winkfield, a different style, and Kendrick Carmouche jog home.
So Refined drifts out off the inner rail and has the lead, and still in the clear and the one to catch. CS In Charge is now set down for the drive and runs at the leader. And now Daisy is back running again inside the final furlong. It's So Refined in front. CS In Charge runs at the leader second, with Daisy, CS In Charge, and Daisy flying on late, but she'll settle for second on the outside.
Second. These two have been 1-2 since the gates opened, and they turn into the stretch that way. Sweet Song of the Niles coming on. Here's Divine Mercy, Tina Budd on the grandstand side. Many chances. Here comes Divine Mercy and Tina Budd. They are exploding, and Consolita coming up between runners, takes command under Julien Coutan, and Consolita in the United States debut has won the California Oaks.
While 3 wide, he's strictly the one to beat at the top of the stretch. A gap of 6 back to New York Hero in 4th. They're heading to the 8th pole, and Battle Station has won the early battle with Stoney Bennett, trying to fend off Morning Breeze, who's ahead back second. 5 more. A resurgent New York Hero is picking it up late. Morning Breeze takes the lead in the late stages. Battle Station goes with him. They're head and head to the wire. Morning Breeze, Battle Station will not surrender, and Battle Station turns away Morning Breeze.
3/16 left to go. War Heroine's the leader. Here comes Ms. Bad Behavior with a strong run on the outside. At the 8th pole, War Heroine by half a length. Ms. Bad Behavior looming to her. Out of the flames, has to get across the heels of Ms. Bad Behavior. War Heroine fighting doggedly. Ms. Bad Behavior and out of the flames, trying to get to her. War Heroine held a neck lead at the wire.
From War Heroine there, going down the hill in her turf debut, winning the Sweet Life. Also a nice gutsy effort from Battle Station in that stakes race at Aqueduct on Sunday afternoon. Let's see if either one of those cracked the best performances of the past weekend from a Beyer speed figure standpoint, as we do every week here on the Matt Bernier Show, the recap edition. We take a look and see from a Beyer standpoint the best performances of the past weekend. From 3-year-old males, Kentaka, we saw him earlier. Very, very impressive, winning the San Vicente. He earns a 99 Beyer. 3-year-old females on dirt. Red Ruby, she earns an 83 Beyer, winning the Martha Washington at Oaklawn Park. As far as the turf is concerned, 3-year-old male CV earns an 86 Beyer. That was at Gulfstream Park, and a non-winners of one other than 3-year-old female turfers. There it is, War Heroine. She earns an 83, winning the Sweet Life, going down the hill at Santa Anita. Older horses, the older males, Chief Secretary won the Phoenix Gold Cup. That was at Turf Paradise with a 98 Beyer speed figure. Unique Bella, the older females, and she is the boss as far as Beyers are concerned for the weekend. 109, visually fantastic, winning the Santa Maria. The older turf males, we can kind of split that between the 1st and 2nd place finishers of the Tampa Bay Stakes at Tampa Bay. World Approval and Forge, they both earned 103s. Older female turf horse, Donna Bruja, 101 Beyer, winning the Endeavour Stakes. Those are the weekend's best performances from a Beyer speed figure standpoint. Let's take a look and see what's to come this week here on DRFTV. This is the schedule. You've got a number of new additions to the DRFTV slate of programming, including the Oaks Countdown makes its debut. You'll have all sorts of good info leading in on the road to the Kentucky Oaks anyway, along with the DRF Breeding Report. You'll also have the Derby Watch coming up on Wednesday. You'll have a number of other things. If you're listening to this on the Tuesday sort of programming, you've already listened to the DRF Players podcast. Those boys will also be back on Friday. There will be no preview show for the Matt Bernier show. We'll touch on that momentarily. You'll get all the normal stuff. You get the Weekend Warrior. You've got all sorts of good stuff down at the fairgrounds. You've got a big weekend of racing at Laurel Park as well. All sorts of good stuff to come this week on DRFTV. You can find that on video.drf.com, as well as the Daily Racing Forums YouTube channel. There will be no preview edition of the Matt Bernier show this week on Friday. I know it's listed there, but that's a little bit of a mix-up there. There will be no show. We will come back next week after the holiday. Sometime on Tuesday, a recap edition will be recorded and uploaded to video.drf.com, as well as all of the other places that you watch the show. If you've watched this show live, live.drf.com, livestream.com, Daily Racing Forums Twitter handle, at DRF Inside Post, or the DRF Facebook page. Thank you for doing so. If you listen to a podcast like most of you do, YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, video.drf.com. My name is Matt Bernier. You can follow me on Twitter at Bernier_Matt. I will be moving, so next week when you see this program again, it's going to look a little bit different, but it's going to be the same sort of stuff, same nuts and bolts, all the same good little things here. Our guys in the back, Craig and AJ, they're going to take care of it, make sure everything looks spick and span, good to go, ready to roll when we come back. So best of luck for the rest of the week until we speak again. Whatever you're playing, wherever you're playing, however you're playing, good luck. Chat soon. The Matt Bernier Show.